Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, spotlighting the innovators, disruptors, and forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail.
Each week, we'll dive into the tools, tech, and strategies that help dealers win in today's market and get a little personal with our guests.
Introducing our host, Sean Kelley, #1 Amazon bestselling author, Special Operations Combat Veteran, and CEO of Car Motivators, known in automotive as the Car Biz Coach.
And JP Burkemper, automotive AI expert and co-founder of Insight, helping dealerships retain customers with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
Now it's time for the show. Welcome back to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, where we spotlight the innovators, leaders, and real stories shaping the future of automotive retail. I'm Sean Kelley, CEO of Car Motivators, known in the auto industry as the Car Biz Coach.
And I'm JP Burkemper, co-founder of Insight, helping dealerships use technology to retain customers and grow smarter.
Today's guest has a journey that really stands out in this industry. Eric Hedges, general manager of Audi Huntsville. He didn't start in the car business. He served over 5 years as an Army Ranger while with the 75th Ranger Regiment. And he went on to build a career in physical therapy. You can tell by his muscles. And then made a transition into automotive that completely changed his path.
And since then, Eric has built a long and successful career in dealership leadership, including over a decade leading the luxury Audi store, navigating everything from evolving customer expectations to major industry shifts like electric vehicle strategy and digital transformation.
In this episode, we're diving into the leadership, luxury retail, customer experience, and what it really takes to build a strong tenured team in today's market. Eric, we're grateful to have you on the show. Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Hedges, Audi Huntsville General Manager. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Eric, a lot of dealers are going through, over the years, they have to go through renovations when the manufacturer wants the new fascia and the remodel and all that, or you got to separate your OEMs into their own buildings. And so give us your survival tips for that. I know that's hell for a GM and their teams. So give us your best tips. How do you survive a renovation? Share that for the people that are out there in the automotive community who are going to go through that soon.
Well, have a good plan. Be prepared for the move, and be prepared for it to take 40% longer than what they tell you it's going to take. Just prepare your staff. I mean, we went out and got two double wide, which is sitting right out in front of the dealership to work out of, and just make sure it's a clean environment. Make sure it's it's good for the customers, with good, so they know where you're at, because it's really difficult for customers because they're wanting to go in the front door like they used to. So just have a good plan, good signage, and gosh, just grind through it because it sucks. You can't watch the lot. There's just so much stuff in the wintertime. These guys are cooped up in this tin can. People are getting sick because it's like an airplane revolving door, just all the sickness. Yeah, just find a good company to get it done quick and have a plan. That's my best advice. And now we did it quick, so now we have 15 years to our next one.
That's perfect.
So, Eric, you've had a pretty unique path. Army Ranger, physical therapy, now the car business. At what point did you realize your life had taken a completely different turn than you expected?
Well, I tell you, back in the day in physical therapy, I was single. I was making decent money. I thought it was going to be my career path, but I found really quickly after I got married and had kids, it wasn't going to be enough income. And my father, who was a 30-year Marine, decided to get into the car business, and he was telling me what great success he was having. And long story being short, he convinced me to make a move, and I figured I still had my education to fall back on if I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, it kind of fit my lifestyle, and it obviously was a much better living.
Was there a moment early on where you thought, okay, I might be pretty good at this?
There was a moment early on when I was thinking, what in the world did I do? So, yeah, my first Saturday in the car business, I'm out at a credit union, credit union sale. Tons of people out there and talking to a lot of people. Didn't sell a car. Was kind of frustrated. It was hot, obviously, in Alabama. It was 100 degrees outside. So yeah, that next Monday I was wondering what I was doing. But the nice thing is, two people called back and bought cars, and I can remember it was my first commission check. I made like $1,400 between two cars, and I was like, man, this might be a good career.
Well, I always enjoy conversing with a fellow Army veteran. So that being said, Eric, I think speaking about war stories, every GM we talk to has one deal or crazy employee situation that just sounds completely made up because it's so wild. So what's the craziest car deal, or I'll let you pick, or employee situation that you've ever been involved in?
Craziest. Man, there's so many. How do you pick the best one? I'd probably say I had an employee who stole a gun from somebody's car, another employee's car. And we confronted him on it. And we told him, I said, listen, we just want to understand why you went into his car, took his gun. This is not a firing session. This guy delivered like 28 cars a month on average for me. And he said, I took the gun because I was going to rob my dealer. And I said, what? He says, yeah. He goes, my drug dealer. I said, immediately, you're fired, and we had the police come. So that was the craziest thing I ever went through.
Oh, you got to appreciate his honesty and his integrity.
Yeah. He goes, I thought this wasn't a firing offense. I said, well, it is a firing offense now.
Yeah, and it's downright terrifying. That's pretty wild.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. We had a strict rule against guns at the workplace. In the state of Alabama, you don't even have to have a concealed carry law. If anybody conceals carry, that's fine. You just can't, nobody can see it.
And were you the GM when that happened?
I was a sales manager at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the GM was the one doing the firing. I was the one sitting there witnessing it and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy's just totally fessing up to what he was doing.
That is a crazy story.
Man, you gotta love the crazy things that happen at car dealerships. You made me think of a time where we had a guy show up, and our finance manager had a yellow Corvette, and he would always drive it into work with the top down on nice days. And we saw a young gentleman. He looked kind of like, who's the guy from the Basketball Diaries? Leonardo DiCaprio, kind of like young, youthful, kind of. And we see him in this yellow Corvette going through it, and we're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to steal this car." And we're like, "What?" And literally he says, "Yeah, I need to get home." And we're like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Somewhere up north. I don't remember." So he gets out. We're like, "Well, come inside and we'll help you find your way home." So he gets out of the Corvette, and he had rollerblade inserts on for shoes. And we're like, something's wrong with this guy mentally, clearly. And he pulls out, he goes, "Hold on, I'm supposed to show you something." And he starts going through his pockets, and he pulls out a piece of paper that's folded up, and it's a note. And it's like in a lady's handwriting. It says, "My son is mentally handicapped. If you find him, please call me immediately. We live in Wisconsin. Here's our phone number and the address where we live. Please help him find his way home." And I was like,
where were you at?
I was working in St. Louis. We were in St. Louis, Missouri.
He's away from home. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You gotta love the car business. Your story sounds scarier than mine a little bit, but
there's all kinds of them, man. That's the first one that popped in my mind. But I mean, yeah, that's probably the most outrageous one. But we've had tons of them.
Yeah.
After 34 years in the business, you experience a lot of different people.
Well, speaking of all your experience in the business, you've been GM at the store you're at now, Audi Huntsville, for over a decade. What's something about running a luxury dealership that people outside the business would never understand?
Well, the big thing is it's the same blocking and tackling. You know what I mean? It's really nothing different than the other business. I think other people treat it like, okay, you're running a luxury store. It's a totally different clientele, and it, to a degree, it is. But they're just like us. I mean, they put their pants, put their pants on one leg at a time, and they're pretty reasonable people. It's no different than the Chevy store I started at. Sold at for 5 years. It's the same business, just 30 years later, different techniques, different ways of getting to the sale. I can remember we didn't have internet when I sold cars. Now we've got that. It's just a different way of approaching the customer and getting them in the door. Now, I mean, you can sell cars online, never meet the person, digital docs, things of that nature. So it's same blocking and tackling, just a different way of doing it.
That's interesting. Selling cars over the internet with what would you call them? What docs?
Digital docs.
Digital docs. Yeah. Have you felt like maybe the hospitality is disappearing then with that type of transaction?
I don't think so, because I mean, you've really still got to deliver. I mean, you've got to do awesome videos to get the person interested in the car. You have to deliver the car to them, which is another, it's just another, I guess, loophole in the business, or another, hoop to jump through. We do video FaceTimes, to feature and benefit the car to the customer. Yeah, it's not hands-on as if somebody were here, but it still is personable because you got to make it that way to, to keep their loyalty, and they've got to have a reason to come back. So yeah, we try to make it as hospitable as possible. The hospitality of in-house is much better, but we have a way of doing it that makes people feel really good about their deliveries far away.
Well, we're excited to talk about that. Those innovations are, I think, really important to help dealers succeed. I got a two-part question here before asking we go to the next area, which is, you mentioned how you can do deals start to finish online. I think a lot of dealers are still like with that whole just get them in the door mindset. And I'm not saying that I wrestle with that too, because that's how I was raised in the car business, right? Set appointments. The better you get at setting appointments, the better you are. And I think it's a skill to discern when you need to to vet the people who you need to work online completely, right? Like so knowing which way to go with it. But I guess what percentage of customers do you think now, compared to the past, like what percentage of the customers now expect to work a deal online, and you better do it online or you're going to lose them altogether compared to what it used to be in the past?
In the past, we probably worked 10% of the people that way. Now we probably work 70% of the people. People are busy, and you have to respect their time. And if they got a trade in and they want a value, we tell them, we say, do you want fair market value or the most for your trade? Everybody wants the most of their trade. Well, that's the person who brings the car and I can look at it, physically see it. But if they want a range, we do it. If you don't give them something, they're just going to the next dealership. They're calling somebody else. So we're doing everything we can to motivate them to make a buying decision, whether it's online, whether it's over the phone, whether it's in FaceTime, or whether they're here.
And are you finding that level of transparency and willing to, I guess, communicate that information digitally? Are you able to capture more of those than you lose? Or because there's that fear that they're going to take the pricing information and end up buying elsewhere. Sure. And just chop you.
That's always my fear, that they're just going to take my price and, go to another dealership. But here's the truth of the matter. If you don't give them a price at all, you're never going to sell them the car. So we're all dealing on such a tight margin that, we pretty much know what everybody's doing anyway, even in the luxury business. And we're not making tons of money on cars. We're trying to get trades, we're trying to get finance, things like that. So we're very competitive up front with our first offer, and we give, normally what people are asking for, because if you don't, they just eliminate you. And granted, if you're closing it, let's just face it, if you're closing at 15%, I don't care what anybody says. If they say they're closing at 20, 25, they're lying. They're not counting their numbers. But if we can close 15% of them, we feel successful, whether it's walking in the door or whether it's online.
Yeah, people are using AI agents to shop now, and the AI is weeding out dealers who aren't providing the transparent or timely information that the customer needs.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell, you get used to seeing the word tracks that they're using over time. And then what's funny about it is that they ghost you after that. The actual bot is ghosting you. So even after you give them the best price, it's, they don't engage. It doesn't happen.
That's crazy, man. So training, I guess, also needs to evolve to be able to zero in, identify those. And you mentioned something earlier that stood out about hospitality, kind of like disappearing in the business a little bit. And I guess you're providing this hospitality up front just by respecting people's time online. But let's talk about the things that dealerships used to do really well for customers that maybe they've stopped. In your opinion, what is something that dealers used to do well that they've slowly stopped doing?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're catering to people more in our business. I mean, I don't think we're doing less. I mean, we got loaner cars for mobility, for customers who come in. We have swag when people buy, cars. We have gifts. We do. I think we do more now than we did back then. I don't think we had to do as much. People didn't expect as much. I think they expect more now. On the hospitality side, in-house. Now, of course, when you're delivering a car, sorry about that. Let me turn it. When you're delivering a car out of state or out of, you cannot give them the kind of hospitality you can up front. But I think we do more for them, I guess is my answer. I don't think we're doing less.
What are their you mentioned that they have even more expectations. What are some of those expectations they have more of that they maybe didn't have in the past?
Well, I think some of their expectations they're having are, second deliveries, people picking up their car when it needs service, dropping off a loaner car, that's after the sale. During the sale, they always expect, something, a swag bag, something that comes with the vehicle. I mean, every single person now that has done business with us in the past knows that we give them some of the best swag out there, whether it's hats, whether we give them a gift card to their favorite restaurant, the little things that are personal, and they come to expect it. And I think, if they spend this kind of money, they should.
Definitely. Eric, you've trained a lot of people over the years, and you kind of talked about that trend, that 10% to 70% online. That had to have required some sort of transition and learning curve for those guys. What do you think separates the top 5% of salespeople from everyone else?
Well, my top 5% really they're problem solvers. They can find out what the problem is, what the customers, need, what their needs are. I always say problem. If you're a problem solver in the car business, you're a car salesperson. When you overcome that problem and you supply them a solution, that's the difference between, a 20 car guy and a 7 or 8 car guy. And they become their agent. They become somebody they send all their friends to and their neighbors. And, they take such good care of them. They can't imagine somebody else buying a car anywhere else.
Yeah. Sounds like you think it's more of a skill or personality, maybe a combination of the two? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think you have to have a servant personality, that you want to serve somebody and make sure they're taken care of and genuinely care about the person in what they're doing instead of it just being a commission. And I think people know that. I think they know the difference between getting flim-flams and being, given a solution to an issue that they have and them caring about them. And I think caring is the biggest deal. I think every one of my sales guys out there care about what their customers are buying, servicing their customer after the sale, and, making sure that, that everybody in their household is taken care of.
Is that something that you're preaching on?
Yes.
Pretty hard with these guys? Yeah. So do you think you can spot a great salesperson early?
God, I wish I could. I've hired my share of people who can't sell cars. You know what I mean? It's funny. Sometimes the best part of the interview is the interview from some people. It's just, I don't know. Some people I hire I think are going to be rock stars and they fall flat on their face. And some people I think, I'll give you a prime example. I took a guy in he washed cars for a living. He just had a passion for the brand. And man, when he came in there and he just absorbed everything that we taught him, and he quickly sold 20, 25 cars average within the first 4 months in the business. In the luxury business, that's tough. He was a younger kid too. Yeah, you just can't judge the book by its cover, one way or the other.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you say that guy that came in, the car washer that came in, he started off hot and then fell on his face?
But no, he came in and did what he was supposed to do. He came in hot and he did great, and he continued to do great. He's not any longer at my dealership. He's moved on, but I have these hotshots who come in who look like they're going to sell 10, 15 cars the first month. And then they learn the business and they feel like they know everything there is to know about it, and they shortcut. And, the next month they sell 5 cars.
I was going to ask you what you think the biggest mistake new salespeople make in the industry. It's probably
thinking they know the business.
Yeah. And taking shortcuts.
Shortcuts is the biggest one. Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of time anymore. We used to have a lot more time. Used to be the pyramid, the road to the sale was like 14 steps. Now it's 6 or 7 steps. So, you've just got to be really good at the first 2. You got to have common ground. You got to be able to listen to them and show them the vehicle they're looking for. So you've got to be a good investigator to find out what they need. You've got to be able to qualify them and do a good product selection and know exactly and ask the right questions about budget, and don't put them on the carts too much for them. I always tell my guys, you can always go up, but you can't come back down. So it's all in training. If they're open to training and they absorb what you say and you load their lips and they listen, they're successful. If they learn and then if they shortcut, then sometimes they make it around, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sales bringing in the right person is so key, and it's so hard to figure out. We had a coach join our team, and he had a really unique way of vetting employees, and we've since systemized it, and we place it at the dealers we coach when to help them bring in the right people. But it's so much. I'm talking we have people jump through 20 flaming hoops to earn the right to sell cars at a dealership anymore. I'm talking like, we have personality assessment. We give them homework assignments. They have 12 to 24 hours to complete them. And like stuff like, hey, here's a lead scenario. Send us a video showing that you're willing to, use video, and you have 12 hours to do it. And we just see it. And it's crazy how, you start off with 350 resumes and you end up with like 8 people that are worth interviewing. And then you interview those people, and then you find out that, you use AI, you record the convos and you feed it in and you say, do they have the right personality for sales? And anyway, you jump through all these hoops, and then maybe you got someone, or you just try hiring people, throwing them in, so I'll hope they stick. And so it's really tricky to find the right people. And then I think I love what you said. I agree with you too, Eric, when you said, the teachable people, the learnable people. It's like when they think they know everything or they make a ton of assumptions, that's the kiss of death. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's true. And you guys are going way beyond what we go to, to hire somebody. I mean, it's, we're still at the point where I just get my managers to speak to them. I speak to them, and, we send them off and do a drug test and a background check. And, we don't do assessments like that, because I have found that you can get the best person on paper, and they're just not a good fit. And I think between the personalities of myself, my sales managers, my F&I manager, we can pretty much ask the right questions and get pretty close. Now, I will tell you, there was a stretch in 2025, early 25, where we hired 4 people in a row, and they all quit within 3 weeks. And the biggest thing was that they didn't realize it was so hard. They didn't realize it was so difficult, and we all told them that it's difficult. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You know what I mean?
What do you think that does for your business, Eric? Like,
What's that do for my business?
yeah, I mean, what are
Makes
the
it difficult.
Makes it difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But you're right.
Well,
It's
you
like,
got people out there blowing people up that might be buyers, and so we have 100% TO here, so nobody leaves without us talking to them. And that's one of the big things, and we don't just say it; we live it.
well, what's you're spot on. I think salespeople, a lot of people that are thinking about getting into the car business, they just imagine there's a line of customers like with a checkbook, like, I'm ready to buy this Audi.
Yeah, the upbust is coming. Yeah,
It's definitely,
No.
there's no, it's a hunting job nowadays. I agree. Well, so you mentioned the TO. So let's talk about that for a sec. Because, the customer side, what's the biggest lie that customers believe about car dealerships? And I know this one might get you in a little trouble, but I'm curious of your opinion on this.
That the invoice isn't the right invoice. There's always a better price. I don't know. That we'll chase after them if they leave. That's one thing I don't do. I don't run after customers. It's funny. I had a guy on a 2016 CX-5. It was this Monday, and him and his dad just walked out and left, and just sat there in the car, was waiting for somebody to come out and come and get him. On a 2016 CX-5, it was $16,000.
It's like,
You're walking over $200.
They just
Anything you can say about the car.
hanging out outside, waiting for somebody to come back out and talk.
Right.
how long before he came back in, or did he end up driving off?
No, he came back in after about 20 minutes.
Nice.
And he come back, he stuck his head in the office. He goes, "You really going to let us leave over $200? And I said, "You're really going to leave this car over $200? I mean, it's the perfect car." So they end up buying it. But that's the biggest thing. I mean, if we give you the best price, if somebody asks me for the best price, I look at them first and ask them what they're prepared to do with it once I give it to them. Because once I give the best price, there's no more best price. That's it. If I give them another price, I've lied to them. So,
well, where do you think that perception comes from? That the invoice isn't the right invoice, and really,
we trained them to be like that.
How have we earned that reputation as an industry?
We tell everybody, come at the end of the month. That's when you get your best deals. We can tell you what, the first of the month, I'll give the same deals I will on the 31st. But it's just what their dads, fathers, mothers, brothers told them. That's how you negotiate a deal. And that's on us. It's on car people. We started it. You know,
I see it all the time.
you don't go into a grocery store and negotiate on a loaf of bread.
So wait,
You know what I
you're
mean?
telling me that it doesn't matter what time of the month it is, what day of the month it is, you'll work the
I
same
will
deal.
give them the best deal on the first.
Okay, and I'm surprised by this only because I cannot tell you how many dealerships that I run into where the salespeople, will share this with my coaches. They're like, man, they'll say no to every deal until the last few days of the month, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we're gonna miss our goal, and then they start just dropping the pants on all the deals. And if they had just, been fair throughout the whole month, we wouldn't be in the scramble at the end. And how do you balance that the balance between profit and units and
It's a tough balance. I mean, some months we're rock stars, some months, I hate to say it this way, we're giveaway artists. You know what I mean? Personally, if you don't build the value in the vehicle, you're never going to sell it anyway, no matter what the price is. These cars are all way too expensive anyway. I'll just be the first to tell you, I don't care if it's a Hyundai or if it's an Audi or a Mercedes-Benz. There's not enough discount, I think, to impress anybody to buy a car. They've got to be sold on the car, and they got to see the value, and the car's got to be worth more than the money in their back pocket, or they're never going to buy it. So I just, so it's not COVID anymore. You know what I mean? Yep.
Eric, Audi went all in on EVs, and a lot
Great move.
like a lot of the manufacturers out there. Now the strategy shifting. So what are your customers actually saying about the EVs on the showroom floor right now? Is it just dead, or are we still getting some interest there? Or?
I sold a Q6 this week. Only Q6 I had. And a gentleman had totaled his Q8 e-tron, loved it, wanted another electric vehicle. And I had one and I sold it to him. People are not receptive, especially in Alabama, to EVs.
Yeah.
Our infrastructure is not quite there, even though we're in the Rocket City, even though we're in one of the most technological cities in the United States.
Right.
#1 place to live in the United States voted this year.
no way? Congrats, that's cool.
Yeah. So we're growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, we've got Space Force coming, FBI is big, Redstone Arsenal, DOD, and yet we have all these engineers and they're not embracing EV the way that they are in California, like they have to, because prices of gas, although it's up right now, it was $2.35 a gallon before I ran. So I don't think we're ever going to see EVs take off. I don't think that,
or anywhere.
I don't think anywhere. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think electric vehicles is the answer. I'll be honest. I think hydrogen fuel cells, quite frankly, are the answer.
But are you pretty educated on that?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I was well invested in a company in Canada called Ballard back in 2000 that came up, and all the big three, Toyota, Honda, all bought into it, and then big oil crushed it, bought it, buried it.
You think the technology's there? It's just they can't break through because of those big players, that own everything.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think in my career I don't think we'll see another push like we did in EV again.
Really? What do you think killed it? And why do you think it doesn't take off? And I just asked because I did a short-term lease on one. Don't hate on me for this, but from one of my coaching clients, a Mercedes. And I will tell you, driving an EV was so fun. Just the instant torque and all that. Now, I will say it did melt. I didn't get a 220, and I used a 110 to charge it, and it literally melted every outlet in my garage over the 2 years, which I just got replaced not too long ago after I turned it in. But I did love driving it. So I guess why do you feel like EV won't take off?
Because of range anxiety. Everybody has it. I have an EV. I have an SQ6 my wife drives. It's perfect for her because she drives it back and forth to the Arsenal, and that's it. But I drove it to Nashville, which is 90 minutes, to my north. And I had 320 miles. I'm going 90 miles, maybe 95. Thinking I won't even have to fill up or get, charge up until I get back. Well, that's not true. What people don't realize is you go 85 miles an hour down the interstate, it's sucking down the power quick. So we get there, we drive around a little bit, and I find out that I need to charge somewhere. So the big problem is the reality of range. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I have a Scout on order. I don't know if y'all follow Scout at all, but Scott Keogh, when he ran Audi, I was a huge fan of him. Great guy, great car guy, probably by far one of the best manufacturing, heads I've ever met. they've got to figure it out. I mean, it's an EV that's going to have a gas powered generator that's going to give you 500 additional miles on top of what you got in charging. That's the answer, the short answer for EVs to me.
Those Scouts are cool, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see one of those on the road for the first time.
Well, I mean, if you're seeing a Rivian, you're about seeing a Scout. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean? That they look a lot alike. They're using their technology.
That history though with the Scouts, Rivian doesn't have that.
That's true. The backing of Scout is going to be huge, and I think they're going to do very well if they can go to market the way they want to go to market. You know, they don't want to have dealerships brick and mortar, and you know, most places are fighting. I think there's only 2 states in the United States you can buy one: Colorado, and I don't think Carolina's passed it yet.
So, can you sum up where you think the EV market is going?
Yeah, it's going down the drain.
Down the drain. We're not going to see. You don't think manufacturers are going to be making them over? I mean,
look at the pullback Chevrolet or GM just announced on EVs. Ford, all the big three. I mean, they're like saying it's what can I say? I'd say it a nice way. It's a financial suck. I mean, billions of dollars down the drain. I know it was for Audi, and that might be working in Europe and it might work in California, but it's not going to work in the United States. It just won't.
yeah.
Do
I wanted to.
Do hydrogen fuel cells have a chance?
I think so, but I don't think you're going to see it for a while longer until we really, really are tight on fossil fuels.
You said Ballard is the company are they still kicking or
No, they got bought out and then they got buried.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about your team, shift gears to personnel again. You've worked with a pretty tenured team for a long time, from what I understand. What is the average tenure of your team? And then what do you think keeps people at I think this is one of the ways you as a leader innovate. So the tenured team, what keeps them at your dealership for so long in an industry known for massive turnover?
Well, I think the big thing is they love the brand. You got to love what you're selling. 2, we don't have a car business schedule. You know, they have a good work-life balance. So they're not here from 8 to 8. I know when I started in the car business, I asked them what my schedule was, and they told me it was on the front door. So here, you know, we make sure they get their off days. We are off every Sunday. They make sure they get weekends, you know, at least 1 week in a month off. I think it's like the story of the 2 lumberjacks. You know what I mean? The 2 lumberjacks cut wood. They cut wood all day together. One takes an hour break. One doesn't, keeps on cutting, and then comes back and the other guys cut more wood, right? So why? Why did you cut more wood? He asked, what do you do for that hour? He goes, I go sharpen my axe. So he can, you know, sharpen his tools, be better, doesn't have to put as much effort toward it. It's like that here. I mean, it's a little bit easier. It's not as hard on the family. It's good on relationships. And I think when you sell a good brand, and I don't know if you've looked at my inventory, but we have some of the best used cars that you can buy anywhere in the country. You know, we'll have 911 Turbo S's, we'll have Shelby, you know, Raptors. We go out and get things people want, you know, and we broker to people. If they want an X7 loaded up, I go get. So
that's very customized. That's a very customized experience, which that can be tricky with so much you have to do every day. But that also lets I'm sure your team members, they feel more confident that they can better serve the customers. So that probably helps them want to, because like they go anywhere else, they probably aren't going to be able to personalize the experience and the purchase for the customer like that.
That's true. I had a guy, you know, move over from Volkswagen to us, you know, and he's like, man, he goes, we didn't do anything like this. You know, if we needed a car, you know, we had to send them somewhere else to get it. You know, we go get them their car. We sit them down and say, hey, tell us what you want. We'll call the used car factory and we'll find it. You know, that customer wants a, you know, gold on black, whatever, you know, we'll find it. If it's out there to be had, we'll get it.
Yeah. Well, you know, now I'm gonna, as it relates to your tenured, experienced personnel, I want to ask you a question, because earlier this morning I was on a discovery call with a Highline dealership's GM, and we're exploring, you know, coaching with his team. And so he said to me, he's like, man, we've got experienced, tenured people. He's like, my biggest opportunity for them is, you know, they already make great money. They sell a bunch of cars. He's like, but they financially they're content. So it's like, he's like, how do you get people like that to want to achieve even more? And I'm like, why is that important? And he's like, well, because, should the market ever shift, or as they get older and they start slowing down, he's like, I want their new norm, if they have a decline, to be what they're selling now, right? As opposed to what they're selling now declines from here. And I'm like, well, that's a really good reason. So I love what expertise, my question for you is, how do you keep experienced people motivated, and how do you keep challenging people who maybe already are financially secure, stable, and comfortable? How do you challenge them to do even more?
I don't know. Car people they like to spend money. You know what I mean? You keep them in debt. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. I find that most of my tenure people are self-motivated. I can't put enough pressure on them. They put all the pressure on themselves. They compete against each other monthly. They want to sell the most cars, and sometimes it's not about making the most money. Sometimes it's hitting that bonus, or we throw things out there that's certain unit bonuses, and we have a big hitter award for people who happen to make a decent gross, things like that. You just keep it interesting. You just change it up. You just can't keep everything the same. And there's going to be times that they're going to let up and they're going to slow down. But if they're doing everything right in the way we train them, they can't help but sell more cars because they have repeat referral business, and we've taught them how to call their customers and ask for more business after referrals. Get 2 referrals from every customer you sell a car to. My gosh, if you only get 1 and you sold 20 cars, now you've got 10, or you got 20 referrals before you start the next month. So it's just teaching them how to grow their own business and taking care of your customer.
So Eric, I love what you said there, gamifying, right? Gamifying the experience and getting people against each other. I have a sports background, and I just wanted to be the best. And so as a guy that owns my own company, and I have a sales force, is there something maybe that you've done recently that worked really well to, get that competition type of, vibe going across your guys?
Yeah, we do what's called a steak and beans contest. You've heard of those, right? You get
No.
2 teams. Well, the team that wins, the other team has to make them steak, and we call it steak and beans because the other guys who win get the steaks, and the guys who had to cook it get the beans.
Okay.
So they always want to be the ones, they're cooked for and get get catered to. So it's more on the level of, they didn't make the most money, they didn't sell the most cars, but together as a team they do. And then of course everybody does get steak and the good food, and no matter what they won or didn't, but they didn't have to fix it. That's the whole thing. That's always a big thing. Steak and beans contests are good. And then just, we'll do, try to do a ropes, outside of here where you just get together and team bond or paintball or something. You can just get out there and just beat each other up.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, you've built a strong culture. If you were to describe for the Automotive Innovators listeners, viewers, what does a good dealership culture actually look like?
It's a serving culture. It's a culture of people who want to take care of themselves, take care of their partner, take care of their customers. They want to go home, put their head on the bed and sleep, do things right. We try to take care of everybody. We probably go above and beyond what we do sometimes. If I sell a car as is and the check engine light comes on in 2 days, I normally fix it. There's a certain amount of money you got to throw at stuff just to keep a good reputation in the business. And I just think a servant type of attitude toward people, whether it's the people you work with, whether it's the customers you're taking care of. I tell these guys to make sure that when their customers leave, that when they need service, they call them, because nobody's problem is bigger than their customer's problem, at that moment than them. Whereas service writers, they deal with problems every day. And if you're not keeping up with your customers in service, you may be losing them and not even knowing it. I mean, we got a great service department, but people get really upset when their cars are not acting right. And if somebody doesn't handle them right, they may go down to BMW and buy a car next time. And the salesperson doesn't know it, then, they got to stay engaged. So, I mean, the serving culture, I guess, is what I was going with that.
That's a great explanation. You can almost sum up everything there. And I think about leadership, like in faith, and at the Last Supper, how like Jesus washed the feet of the disciples, and he was their leader, and here he is the one being the servant. And I think the more we serve others, that it just creates this success. I love that.
Yeah, I like the be less, be more. You know what I mean? You take yourself as less and make somebody else more important.
Yeah, give more, be more.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eric, let's talk cars for a minute. I got an interesting
car.
one. All right. What's a car that everyone loves that maybe you don't personally get the hype around, and then vice versa? What's a car people overlook that's actually incredible?
For some reason, people love Tesla. I don't get it. Bad fit and finish. Just I don't know.
Yeah, the inside it's
Minimalist inside.
Yeah, just
Doesn't
bland.
have the best leather interior. It's just I don't get it.
Yeah.
But some people just absolutely love them.
Well, yeah, you hear a lot of good things about them. I don't know because they drive for you, but how about one that people overlook?
Oh, did I sell?
Sure.
I think
It's time to.
I think
Yeah.
the very best car that we have, I think the very best vehicle we have is the Q7 SUV. I've had probably 12 of them. By far it just checked every box for me in lifestyle. Now we sell a lot of them, but it's the quietest, the smoothest, the fastest if you want to get the SQ7 with the 4-liter turbo, V8. But it's one of the simplest cars out there. That's probably the most overlooked.
And how much is a Q7 with all the bells and whistles running these days?
About 83.
83. Yeah.
That's a great deal for a fully loaded Highline.
I love those Q7s, man. Beautiful.
Me too. I mean, it's hard to beat. And they're remodeling this year. It's going to be huge. I mean, Q4 for us is going to be monster. And we got the Q9 coming, which is like the big X7, bigger than the X7 SUV, which we've been hearing about for 5 years. The new Q7, which is, was launched in 17 it was launched in 16 as a 17. So we've had that body style for a long time. There's some really good things happening at Audi right now. Vito just took the president, Audi of America. Daniel Weissman went to China. So I really like him. He's a real car guy. And we're on the upswing for sure.
Well, you've spent decades in the industry. And if someone walked into your dealership tomorrow and said, Eric, I want to build a career in the business. I want to work my way up from, porter to the shop through sales, all the way up to general manager, maybe even part owner operator. If someone said that to you, what advice would you give them that no one else tells them?
I don't know that I've known anybody to do that, but if I were to tell somebody who wanted to start that way, I would just say, just be open. It's going to be a different ballgame every day. Things, be prepared for change, because from the time if you're going to go from Porter to GM, things are going to change a lot. You think about it. For me, is we really didn't have CRM. I went out of my way and bought this program called Constant Contact or Contact Manager by a company so I could keep up with my customers. We had Nextel phones, really didn't have cell phones. I think we had progressed past bag phones. So I just think you just got to be prepared for change, and you've got to give people grace, because in the car business, there are some really good people in the car business, and there's some people that should have been out of the car business a long time that are still in the business.
In your opinion, is the business still a great career?
Yeah, it is. It's still a great career. It's changing a lot, but I think anybody could come into this business with the right attitude, with the right skill set, and still make a better living than most people who have a college degree and go out for their first job, second job, 10 years after their first job.
That's what I love
if
about.
They just dedicate themselves.
That's what I love about the industry. It provides so many amazing opportunities for so many people. But now, to that end, you mentioned the people that should have been out of it a long time ago. What kind of person? And I think this is still a big misconception among the general non-automotive population. But so I'm excited to hear your answer here. What kind of person thrives in this industry today?
A person who is motivated to take care of their family, themselves, and their customers. I mean, it's the same thing it was when I started in the business. The people have changed. I mean, generation to generations are different. We're in a generation of people who want to work and a little bit and live a lot versus work a lot and live a little bit. So they just got to be able to find that good balance between work life and home life. And it depends on where you're at. It's different. I mean, if I go to a Chevy store, they'll still burn you out 9 to 9, 9 to 10, 9 to 11, Toyota store, Honda store, all the same way. You just got to find a good place with good people. And we're, even though the Hiley Group owns us, they're a great family. Jason and Randy, who own this business, are good to their employees from the top down. So you're just going to find a place where people are going to take care of you.
Yeah. So, Eric, how many years again have you been in the business?
35 coming this June.
All right.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
I love it. We bucked the system here. Every one of my guys are in shape. None of them smoke. None of them vape. Very little smoking. When I started the business, I couldn't believe they were smoking on the showroom floor. Most of these guys were alcoholics, and it was weird. We out hustled them. My last year in the car business, I sold 52 cars average a month. So, it's just, you got to have that kind of drive.
Yeah, you sound like a well-oiled machine, similar to an Audi Q7. What's something you wish you knew when you started that you know today?
I wish I knew in the beginning you had to stock your money back for rainy days. I wish somebody told me a long time ago when I first started in that put your money back, don't change your lifestyle, just invest it and save. I wouldn't be here today if I'd done a better job of it, but I've done a really good job. So, I mean, I could have done better. And that's what I instill in my guys. I just ask them to invest in their people, invest in, money market accounts, 401k, whatever, put it back. During COVID, I told them not to change your lifestyle. Don't go make big purchases because they were ringing the bell. And I would say 90% of them did that. And right now we're reaping the benefits because right now we're selling a lot of cars, but we're not making as much profit for sure.
Eric, thank you for taking time to be with us today and for sharing your story, your perspective, and your experience. There's a lot in this conversation that leaders across the country can really learn from, especially around leadership, culture, and the importance of never losing the human side of the business.
And to everyone listening, we appreciate you being a part of the Automotive Innovators Unplugged community. This show exists because of you and for you to bring real conversations from real operators like Eric to the automotive space.
If you got value from today's episode, do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with the leaders shaping the future of automotive retail. And share this episode with someone on your team or in your network who could benefit from it.